full cycle, uncultivated, quite literally, for as Montesquieu put it, perhaps most succinctly, these people enjoy great liberty, for as they do not cultivate the earth, they are not fixed, they are wanderers and vagabonds. Spirit of the Law, 1814, of the political state of the people who do not cultivate the land. Lovejoy and Boas, 1965. Scott, 2017, 129, 30. Ibid, 35, Ibid 135, Ibid 253. Sahlins and Service, 1960. The closest we have to a historical comparison is economic the socialist bloc, which existed from roughly 1917 to 1991, and and at its peak encompassed a fair amount of the world's land mass, and population is often treated as a failed experiment in this sense. But some would argue that it was never really independent from the larger capitalist world system, but simply a subdivision of state capitalism. We are drawing here on examples discussed at greater length in depth the first 500 years. Graeber 2011, Chapter 9, which describes these coordinated changes largely in terms of the last alternation between physical gold and silver currency and various forms of abstract intangible credit money. For a general review of Cahokia and Pocketat 2009, Williams 1990, Severy 2011 discusses evidence for the use of pictographic writing systems among the indigenous peoples of North America and why their characterization as oral societies is misleading in many ways. GR 1645 630 47 Sioso Delage 1993 74 Carr et al. 2008 Nike 2001 2006 Seward and Kidder 2011. The archaic measuring unit appears to have survived into the Adena period, but woodland peoples employed a different system of measurement and geometric forms. Derived, at least in part, from formative Mesoamerica, the system used a certain measuring called 544 meter for a standard unit and its permutations, but it otherwise preserved many of these traditional counts and arithmetic. Also, reliance to octangles was replaced by the use of square grids or cycles and squares at various SMU standard macro unit increments, as is so evident in how well it worked. Clark 2004 205 with further references. Yerker 2005 245. Specialists have come to refer to this as the Pax Hopewelliana for a general review, as well as some occasional exceptions in the form of tropic skulls. See Seaman 1988, Sikar and Case eds 2005, Case and Carr eds 2008, Pasim. Contemporary scholars list at least 9 clans among the Tripartite Alliance of Solidarities in the Central Hopewell region: bear, canine, feline, raptor, raccoon, elk, beaver, non-raptorial, bird, and fox. This corresponds roughly to the largest clans documented among Central Algonquian peoples who still inhabited the region. Carr 2005, Thomas et al. 2005, 339, 40. As one might imagine, this has been a matter of some debate, but we follow here the extensively documented views put forward in Carr and Case ADS 2005 with further detailed references. The book 1997 232. I view Hopewell at work sites as ceremonial centers places where various activities, including mortuary rituals and other activities such as fish, cars-related food races, and other games, as well as dances and gambling, were conducted periodically in the absence of large permanent populations resident at the centers themselves. On Burial Seaman 1979. Sikun 19 Sikun 2009 on the north or south distinction. He also notes that in the south, burials are mostly collective and undifferentiated, and treasures are buried apart from bodies, not identified with specific individuals. The art shows figures in costume, dressed as monsters, rather than individuals wearing headdresses as at Hopewell. At all this suggests a more self-conscious egalitarian or at least anti-heroic ideology in the South. On the on the period of shamanic and earth shrine sites, see the book 1997 on Gender or an office fit Goldberg and Lee 2005, Rodriguez 2005, Carr and Chris 2005, 112 speculates that the North or South division might reflect a distinction between the ancestors of later patrilineal Great Lakes Algonquians and the material southeastern societies Cree, Cherokee, Choctaw, etc. But the pattern reflected in the tombs seems far more radical. Aside from some male mortuary priests, all major office holders in the South appear to be women. Rodriguez 2005 analysis of skeletal remains suggests even more surprising differences in the South, where women also participate in maintenance and subsistence activities more commonly done by Native American men, including flint knapping and running, possibly involved in hunting. Inversely, men share in possessing plant foods, stereotypically associated with women. Carr in Case and Carr eds 2008 to 148. It is rather surprising that these findings have not been more broadly discussed. On the Causeway, Leper 1997. As we discussed in Chapter 4, the monumental hunter-gatherer center of poverty on the lower Mississippi drew in objects and materials from a similarity wide region almost 2,000 years earlier, and it may well have disseminated various forms of the intangible goods and, and knowledge far and wide in return. But Poverty Point had a different character to Hopewell, tightly focused on the single center of gravity and less clearly marked by the spread of social institutions such as burial rituals or settlement patterns. Between 3,500 and 3,200 BC, a cultural spread of similar scope but very different character also preceded the emergence of the first large territorial kingdom in Egypt. It is often referred to in the literature as a cultural unification that preceded political unification, although in fact much of that unification between the Vale and Delta of the Nile seems to have been confined to the sphere of funerary rituals and the associated forms of personal display. Wengrow 2006 308 89. Seaman 2004 558 61. For a more detailed argument on these lines, see Brown 1986, DeBoer 1997, Hudson 1976. Passim, residents of New York City might be interested to know that Broadway was originally on Indian Road and that Astor Place, where it begins, was the circular crossroad for the nations that occupied Manhattan. On the Rattlesnake Causeway and Mount and the origins of Cahokia Sea Bears 2014 2015 on Cahokia's begins as place of pilgrimage Scotian 2016. Chunky appears to have been modeled on a popular children's games children's game called Hoop and Pole. On the origins of Chunky and its later Lateral, see the book 1993, Pocket 2009, Chapter 4. A later observer of the cocktail recorded the favorite game of Chunky. They play from morning till night with an unwary application, and they be bet high. Here you may see a savage come and bring all his skins, stake them and lose them next his pipe, his beds, trinkets, and ornaments, at last his blankets and other garments, and even all their arms, and it is not after all it is not uncommon for them to go home, borrow a gun and shoot themselves. Roman cited in Swanton 1931 156-7 at the time of European contact. Such extreme sports seem to have acted as a leveling mechanism since few stayed on top for long, and even those who saw themselves don't seem to have remained that way for very long. Paul Ketat 2009-20. The literature on Cahokia is vast. In addition to the general reviews we have already cited, see also Alt 2018, Byers 2006, Emerson 1997a, Fowler 1997, Milner 1998, Pocketat 1994, 2004, and Essays in Emerson and Lewis 1991, Pocketat and Emerson's ADS 1997 for the environmental context, Benson et al. 2009, Watts 2004, Emerson et al. 2016, Smith 1992, 17. Emerson 1997a, 1997b, 187, cf. Alt 2018, Pocketat et al. 2015, 446, refer to this as a process of realization. Petzenhauser and Pocketat 2019, as Emerson notes, 1997b, between AD 1050 and 1200, surveillance was also extended into the countryside through the establishment of what he termed civic notes, which seem to have performed a mixture of ritual and managerial functions. See also Pocketat et al. 2015, 446-7, originally identified as the central burial of two males flanked by retainers, but see now Emerson et al. 2016 for the true complexity of this deposit, which lies within the tumulus known to archaeologists as Mount 72, some way short of the Great Plaza. Fowler et al. 1999 reported the Musgraves as all female, but in fact the picture is again more complex. Sino Ambrose et al. 2003, Thompson et al. 2015, Nike 1989, 1986, 1999, Nike 1986, 1989, Nike et al. 2011, Pocketat 2009, Chapter 4. For other possible readings of the Birdman symbolism, see Emerson et al. 2016, Emerson 2007, 2012. The precise reasons behind Cahokia's collapse are hotly contested for range of views. See Emerson et al. 2014, Kelly 2008 with further references. See Cobb and Butler 2002 for range of views of the latter issue. Compare Holt 2009, Pocketat 2007, and see also Milner 1998, for which at Cahokia C. Smith 1992, Pocketat 2013, CF Pocketat et al. 2015, 452, Lafleche 1921, 62, 3, Rawlings 1992, 28, Edwards 2010, 5, Seeking 2003, King 2003, 2004, 2007, Cobb et King 2005, and Clayton et al. eds 1993-92-3, as argued, and it reached 2010. EBIT 33.7, 74.7. The indigenous forms of republican government that emerged in the Southeast during the 18th century also presumed a certain relationship with nature, but this was in no sense one of harmony. Ultimately, it was a relation of war. Plants were human allies and animals were enemies. Killing prey without following correct ritual formula was a violation of the laws of war, which would cause animals to send disease into human communities by way of revenge. Yet at the same time, the business of hunting tended to be understood, especially by men, as representing a certain ideal of individual freedom. Ibid 82:3. The argument was put forward by Waskelov and Dumas, but never published. It cited and discussed in Etrich 2010 83-4, Edsten 2017 33-2. In our opinion, it makes the whole case backwards, seeing the creation of the neo-coalition communities and emergence of a more egalitarian, consensus-based social structure in the face of disasters caused by the European invasion. And only then, the emergence of a new cosmology whose symbol was the loop square, representing the concept ground as the universe, as a sort of adaptation to this new reality. But how could self-conscious ideals of egalitarianism have emerged and been adopted at all, except through some sort of cosmological expression? Fogelson 1984. There were, as Ferguson notes, and as well shown see Cherokee peace in the 17th century, though they were gradually replaced by individual girls. It's hard not to see the legend as to some degree reflecting real historical events. Etowah, for instance, was in what later became Cherokee territory. Coffee itself was first cultivated either in Ethiopia or Yemen. The American equivalent was called the black drink, and traces back at least to at least Hopewell times when it was used in intense doses for ritual purposes. Hudson 1979, counted all 2012. On Creek Daily Gatherings, Hunt 2004, at Fairbanks 1979, Beowulf in GR 10 to 119. Certainly, the emerging soft drug regime in Europe, which was in many ways also the foundation of the emerging world economy of the time, founded first on the spice trade, then on the drug, arms and slave trades, was quite different, since it focused so much on new regimes of work. While in the Middle Ages almost everyone had consumed intoxicants like wine or beer on a daily basis, the new regime saw a division between mad drugs meant to facilitate work, coffee and tea, especially used as vehicles for sugar, along with tobacco and hard liquor for the weekends, see various contributions in Goodman, Lovejoy and Serrat, ADS 1995. In our terms, it's not even clear that Adena Hopewell was a first of the regime of domination in most respects. As we've indicated, it seems closer to the kind of grand hospitality zones, cultural areas, interaction spheres, or civilizations we've encountered so many times before in other parts of the world. CK Ho 2007 for an extensive comparison of ethnohistorical data on the Osage with the Cahokian archaeology, also Hall 1997. The exact relationship with Cahokia is not archaeologically clear, however, and Robert Cook supplies the most recent breakdown of the origins in Fort Asian, a Mississippianist region of central Ohio whose population seems to have interacted with the Caucasian heartland. See especially pp 141 to 162 3. La Flèche, 1930, 530, Rawlings 1992, 2930, Bailey and La Flèche 1995, 60, 62. La Flèche 1921, 51, Rawlings 1992, 38, Edwards 2010. La Flèche 1921, 48, 9 writes, in the course of this study of the Osage tribe, covering a number of years, it was learned from some of the older members of Nohozinga of the present day that, aside from the formulated rites handed down by the men of the golden days who had delved into the mysteries of nature and of life, stories also came down in traditional form telling of the manner in which the seers conducted their deliberations. The story that seemed most to impress the Nohozinga of today is the one telling of how those men, those students of nature, gradually drifted into an organized association that became known by the name Nohozinga, Little Old Men. As the time went on, this associated found a home in the house of a man who had won, by his kindness and hospitality, the affection of his people. Since that time, it has been regarded by prominent men as an honor to entertain them. La Flèche, 1939-34. See above N1, and also Burns 2004, 37, 8, 330, 362. Burns, Burns himself is of partly Osage descent and was brought up as Osage. We find it striking how regularly indigenous authors are open to the possibility that such dialogues were to weigh, and how clearly European historians or Americans of European descent dismiss any such suggestion as preposterous and effectively shut them down. Parker 1916 17 italics ores. It's interesting to note that some early sources, like Josiah Clark, refer to the latter feature of Adodaro as the king, though alternatively a principal civil affairs officer of the Confederacy in Henich 1999 134 5. It's worthy of note here that Arthur Parker describes Iroquois witches of his day as essentially those who have the power to turn themselves into monstrous beasts, and at the same time to bend others to their will to telepathic commands. Parker 1912 27 8 into C.F. Smith 1888, Dennis 1993 90 1994, Simoni 1961 261 88 1970, Tucker 1964 117 20. Man also emphasizes the political nature of the destination. The close European thought comes to European witchcraft is a general disgust with anyone who uses charms is an underhanded way to trick another person into behavior that is neither voluntary nor self-directed. Man 2318 C.F. Graeber 1996 for a similar case in Madagascar, also focusing on love magic. We are thinking here particularly of the arguments made by Robert Lowy in Pierre clusters discussed at various points in our earlier chapters. For instance, the Haudenosaunee also claimed they were descended from a population of escaped serfs subjugated by a numerically superior enemy whom they called the Adirondacks. Bucketeers, Home 2002 160. Subjugation and insurrection were in no sense entirely alien concept here. Trigger 1990 136 7. Ibid 137. Framing in Wallace 19 158 to 135. The Iroquois have, probably speaking, only a single divinity, the dream. To it they render their submission and follow out its orders to it the utmost exactness. The Sonotruans Seneca are more attached to this superstition than any of the others. Their religion in the respect becomes even a matter of scruple, whatever it be, than they think they have done in their dreams. They believe themselves absolutely obliged to execute at the earliest moment. The other nations content themselves with observing those of their dreams which are the most important, but these people, which has the reputation of living more religiously than its neighbors, who would think itself guilty of a great crime if it failed in its observance of a single dream. The people think only of that. They talk about nothing else, and all their cabins are filled with their dreams. Some have been known to go as far as Quebec, traveling 150 leagues for the sake of getting a dog that they have dreamed of buying there. Wallace accused that this is a direct psychological consequence of the stoicism and importance of personal freedom and autonomy in European societies. Source of Law 1963, Graeber 2001, 136, 9. The earlier dates are in reference to an eclipse mentioned in the foundation text. Mann and Fields 1997, C.F. Heinrich 1999, Snow 1991, Atkins 2002, Starner 2008. For the general states of archaeological understanding, see Tuck 1978, Baumann et al. 1992, Engelbrecht 2003, Big 2015. On the Ontario inception of maize cultivation, Johansen and Mann 2000, 119 to 119.20, Penn and Fitz 1997, 122, 3, Johansen and Mann 2000, 278, 9. See Chapter 6, Morgan 1851, Baukamp 1907, Fenton 1949, 1998, Tucker 1978, On the Role of Woman, Especially Brown 1970, Tucker 1984, Mann 1979, 1999, 97, 1998, 2000, Jamie 1992, 74. In Nobel 1985, 133, CF 1978, 161. There is some debate over how seriously to take the missionary claims about Suharison Trigger 1985, 223. For instance, insists he was simply unusually prominent, was chief, but the preponderance of anthropological opinion seems weighted towards seeing to the natural as a simple chiefdom. Nobel 1985, 134, 42. Parker 1919, 16, 32, 30, 32. Lahontan 1990, 1703, 122, 4. The story is told in some detail in Mann 2146, 52.